Welcome to the Wisdom and Blessing channel. I'm here with you, quietly, like a small lamp in a calm room. Nothing is needed from you. You can let your shoulders soften, let your face rest, and simply feel that you're not alone in this moment. You are allowed to be still. Even if your mind has been running for a long time, even if your day has felt like a list that never ends, even if you have been carrying the feeling that you must improve, repair, become, and prove, you are allowed to be still. Stillness is not a trophy. It is not something you earn by doing everything right. It is something that exists, like night air. It arrives when you stop reaching for it. It arrives when you let it find you. In the dimness of an imagined evening, there is a narrow path made of earth and soft stones. No one is hurrying on it. The path does not demand a destination. It simply lies there, patient, accepting feet that come and feet that pause. You find yourself walking along it, not because you must, but because the world is gentle enough to hold a slow walk. Above you, the sky is deep and steady, a dark fabric without any sharp edges. The air is cool in a way that feels clean. Somewhere far away, a bell has been touched once, not loudly, not insistently. The sound is not trying to teach you anything. It is only moving through the night the way a ripple moves through a pond. You notice how your body knows how to be here, even if it has been tense, even if it has been tight. It still knows how to stand on ground. It still knows how to feel the air. It still knows how to breathe without being told. There is something tender about that, something quietly faithful. Your body has been working for you in ways you rarely praise. It has carried you through rooms you didn't want to enter. It has held you upright through conversations that demanded too much. It has kept going through mornings when you wished you could disappear under the blanket and be a child again. And even now, it is here. It is not perfect. It is not required to be. It is simply here, and that is enough. As you walk, you pass tall trees that do not seem to know what self-improvement is. They are not worried about being better trees tomorrow. They are not ashamed of the leaves they dropped last season. They are not rehearsing what they should have said when the wind pushed them too hard. They stand, they sway, they accept the weight of the night. They allow the world to move through them. In their stillness, there is no stiffness. There is softness. There is an ease that comes from not arguing with the moment. A little farther along the path, you begin to see a temple roof in the distance. Not grand, not shining, not calling attention to itself. Just a quiet shape against the sky. The temple does not look like a place where people go to become impressive. It looks like a place where people go to be simple. A place where the mind can put down the heavy bag it has been gripping with white knuckles. A place where you can arrive exactly as you are without needing to polish yourself first. You come closer and notice small lights, candles perhaps, or lanterns behind paper. The light is warm and low, not bright enough to wake anything. It is the kind of light that makes shadows feel friendly. The door is open, not dramatically, just open in the way a kind person might leave a door open when they know someone might need a place to rest. No one is waiting with questions. No one asks you why you're here. No one measures your worth at the threshold. You step inside. The floor is smooth wood, cool under your feet, as if it has been washed by silence for many years. The air smells faintly of incense, but not in a strong or sharp way, more like a memory of sweetness carried in cloth. There is a stillness in the room that doesn't feel empty. It feels full, but full of something quiet, full of space, full of permission. Somewhere in the room, a monk sits in the dark, not as a teacher, not as a judge, just sitting the way a mountain sits. The monk's presence does not push you toward anything. It does not demand that you be calm. It does not demand that you understand anything. It is simply there, and in that simple presence, you feel less alone. You find a place to sit, or perhaps to lie down, as if your body is choosing comfort without apology. The wooden floor supports you. It doesn't ask for gratitude. It simply supports. You can feel the weight of your body meeting the ground, and the ground meeting you back. There is something honest about weight. Weight doesn't pretend. Weight just settles. For a while, you may notice thoughts drifting. Thoughts about what you should be doing, who you should become, what you should fix. They come the way moths come toward a lamp, not because the lamp demanded them, but because this is what moths do. And you do not need to fight them. You do not need to swat at them. You can let them circle. You can let them come and go. They do not have to be the boss of you. They can be sounds in the distance, like a night insect rubbing its wings. You remember how often you have carried yourself as a project, how often you have looked at your own heart and thought, this needs repair. How often you have looked at your own tiredness and thought, this is weakness. How often you have looked at your quiet longing and thought, this is inconvenient. It is exhausting to treat your own being like a problem. It is exhausting to hold a mirror to yourself all day and never let your eyes soften. Here, the mirror can be put down. In the temple, there is a small bowl of water near a candle. The surface of the water is still, and it reflects the faint light. If you stare too hard, the reflection becomes strange. If you relax your gaze, it becomes gentle. The water doesn't strain to be clear. It is clear because it is not trying. It is clear because it is allowed to be still. You're allowed to be still in this way too. Outside, the night continues. It is not waiting for you to become a different person. The stars do not flicker in judgment. The moon does not hurry you. The trees do not whisper, do more. Somewhere, a dog turns in its sleep and sighs. Somewhere, a bird tucks its head under a wing. The world is filled with small beings who do not apologize for resting. You feel how your breathing is already happening. It has been happening all along, even when you were anxious, even when you were trying, even when you were fixing. Breath does not hold grudges. Breath does not say, you failed earlier. Breath only arrives and leaves and arrives again. It is humble. It is faithful. It is ordinary in the most sacred way, without needing that word. You might notice the rise of your chest, the soft fall. You might feel the coolness at the edge of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. You might feel how the body knows the rhythm without you being in charge. There is something tender about not being in charge. The mind has been trying to be in charge for a long time. It has been trying to control outcomes, control impressions, control feelings, control the future. And the mind gets tired. It may not admit it, but it does. In the dim temple, the monk sits quietly. At some point, the monk stands, not abruptly, just slowly. The robe makes a soft sound like fabric remembering how to move. The monk walks to a shelf and takes a small candle. The flame is small and steady. The monk does not rush the flame. The monk does not demand that it be brighter. The monk only carries it carefully and sets it down where it belongs. In that act, you feel something in yourself loosen, as if the part of you that has been trying to carry everything realizes it can set something down. You are allowed to set something down. You do not need to decide what it is. You do not need to label it. The mind loves labels. The mind loves names for pain, names for patterns, names for problems. Sometimes those names help. Sometimes those names become another burden. Here, you can simply feel the possibility of release without naming what you are releasing. There is a low table in the room. On it rests a simple clay cup. The cup is not decorated. It is not special. It is useful. It exists for the ordinary act of holding water. You imagine pouring water into it. The water fills the cup without effort. If you pour too much, it overflows. Not as a punishment, just as a fact. The cup does not blame itself for overflowing. It does not say, "I should have been better at holding." It simply lets the extra water run back into the bowl. The cup does not carry shame. You can be like that cup tonight. You can hold what you can. You can let the rest flow away. You do not need to be punished for being human. A thought drifts through you. I should be doing more. Another thought drifts through. I should have done better. Another, I'm behind. Another, I'm not enough. They move like clouds. Some are heavy clouds. Some are thin. The sky does not get angry at clouds. It does not chase them away. It simply remains wide enough to hold them. You're wide enough to hold your mind without being swallowed by it. In the temple, there is a window open, just a little. Night air enters, cool and quiet. It brushes your skin. It does not ask permission. It does not force itself. It just passes through like a soft hand moving across a curtain. You feel the air and remember that the world can touch you gently. Not everything is pressure. Not everything is demand. In your life, you may have learned to be tense even in safety. You may have learned to scan for what needs to be fixed. You may have learned to keep your shoulders slightly raised, ready to respond, ready to prove. That habit is understandable. It came from somewhere. It protected you in some way. You do not need to hate it. You do not need to fight it. You can simply let it rest beside you, like an old guard who has done his job and can finally sit down. You imagine a small path behind the temple that leads into a garden. The monk steps through a side door, and you follow, not with hurry, not with expectation. The garden is simple: stones, moss, a few trees, a pond that reflects the sky. The pond is dark, but not frightening. It is dark like velvet. The surface holds the faint light of the moon in a quiet way. You come near the pond and see a lotus leaf floating. It is broad and still. A droplet of water sits on it, round and shining, as if the leaf knows how to hold without clinging. The droplet can roll off at any moment. It is not trapped. It is resting. There is a difference. You have been holding your life as if everything is trapped, as if every moment must be secured, as if you must grip it with a fist. But what if you could hold it like the leaf holds the droplet? Present, careful, but not clenched, caring, but not grasping. There is a softness in that. The monk kneels by the pond and touches the water with one finger. A small ripple moves outward. The ripple does not carry a message. It is not trying to persuade you. It is simply the nature of water to respond. The ripple grows, then fades. It does not stay. It does not cling to being a ripple. It becomes stillness again. The pond does not mourn it. You can let things fade like this. You can let the day's ripples fade. You can let the thoughts fade. You can let the pressure fade. Even if it returns, it can fade again. There is no failure in returning. There is no failure in repeating. Night is made of repeating softness. You sit near the pond. The monk sits nearby, not close enough to intrude, not far enough to abandon, just present. In that presence, you begin to feel how deeply tired you are, not in a dramatic way, just in a truthful way, a tiredness that has been underneath many things, a tiredness that has been masked by doing. Sometimes the busiest part of you is the part that is most afraid to rest. It might think, if I stop, everything will fall apart. It might think, if I stop, I will feel what I have been avoiding. It might think, if I stop, I will be nobody. Those thoughts are not monsters. They are only frightened parts of you trying to keep you safe. You do not need to argue with them. You can let them sit beside you like small animals near a fire. They can warm themselves. They can settle. They do not need to be chased into the woods. In the garden, you hear a soft sound of bamboo tapping, maybe a wind chime, maybe a simple water clock that tips and returns. The sound is gentle, repeating without urgency. It does not say time is running out. It says something quieter, something like, time is moving, and it is okay. You remember times when you were a child and you were allowed to be still without guilt. Maybe lying on the floor and watching dust dance in a beam of light. Maybe sitting by a window and listening to rain. You were not improving yourself in those moments. You were not fixing anything. You were simply alive, and it was enough. That enoughness did not disappear when you grew older. It was only covered. It is still there. In the temple garden, the moon is high and the shadows are soft. The monk stands and walks slowly along the stones. The monk's steps are quiet. Each step meets the earth as if greeting it. There is no rush. There is no performance. Just the simple intimacy of foot and ground. You follow again, and the path leads to a small hall where candles are arranged in a row. Some are lit, some are not. The unlit candles are not ashamed. They are not defective. They are simply not lit at this moment. And even the lit ones will not stay lit forever. The wax will soften. The flame will change. The candle will become something else. This is not tragedy. It is the nature of things. You have been expecting yourself to stay lit all the time. You have been expecting yourself to be bright in every moment, to be strong in every conversation, to be wise in every decision, to be productive in every day. You have been expecting yourself to never dim. But you are not a machine. You are a living being. Living beings move through brightness and dimness. They move through energy and fatigue. They move through clarity and confusion. They are allowed. The monk sits near the candles and watches them for a while. You watch them too. The flames tremble slightly when the air shifts. They do not panic. They do not stiffen. They tremble and continue. Their trembling is part of their beauty. Your trembling too is allowed. Your uncertainty, your softness, your imperfect courage, all of it. You might feel something in your chest ease a little, like a knot loosening. Or perhaps you don't feel it yet. That is also allowed. Nothing is required. The night does not demand progress. The night is patient with the pace of your heart. The monk places a small bowl of rice on the floor, not as a ritual for you, but as a simple offering to the quiet. The monk bows lightly, not to impress anyone, but as a natural gesture of humility. You do not need to bow, you do not need to do anything. You can simply watch the movement and feel the calm that comes from movement, without urgency. You have been moving with urgency for a long time. Even when you sit, your mind moves urgently. Even when you rest urgently, as if rest is a task to complete. But here, rest is not a task. Stillness is not a task. You do not have to do stillness correctly. You might notice the contact of your body with whatever supports you. The bed, the floor, the cushion, the blanket. You might feel warmth in your hands or coolness. You might feel your jaw unclench a little. You might feel your tongue resting in the mouth, no longer pressing against teeth. These small softenings are not achievements. They are natural returns. Outside the hall, the trees continue to be trees. They do not read books about being better trees. They do not compare their branches to other branches. They do not measure their leaves against an ideal. They simply receive moonlight. They simply let insects rest on their bark. They simply allow the seasons to move through them. You can allow the season of this moment to move through you. Even if you're in a season of tiredness, even if you're in a season of uncertainty, even if you're in a season of healing you cannot explain. There is a story in the air, but it is not spoken with words. It is a story of a traveler who carried a heavy bag for years, believing it contained the tools to be worthy. The traveler believed the bag contained the proof needed to be loved. The plans needed to be safe. The improvements needed to be enough. The traveler carried it across bridges, up hills, through crowded markets, through lonely roads. The traveler never set it down, not even for a moment, because the traveler believed that setting it down would mean losing everything. One night, the traveler came to a quiet temple and saw a monk sitting by a small fire. The monk did not ask the traveler's name. The monk did not ask what the traveler had achieved. The monk simply made room by the fire. The traveler sat down, still gripping the straps. The traveler's hands were sore. The straps had left marks. The monk looked at the traveler's hands and, without judgment, placed a small bowl of warm water near them. The water was for washing, not as a lesson, just as care. The traveler washed their hands slowly. The warmth moved into the skin. The traveler began to realize how much their hands had been clenched. The monk did not say, "Let go." The monk did not say, "You are wrong to carry that." The monk only sat, and the fire crackled softly, and the night breathed, and the traveler noticed the ground under their feet. And in that noticing, something happened. The traveler's fingers loosened. The bag did not jump away. The bag did not vanish. It simply rested on the ground, as if it had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The traveler felt the strange, gentle shock of not holding. The traveler expected fear. The traveler expected emptiness. But what came was a quiet relief, like taking off shoes after a long day. The traveler's shoulders lowered. The traveler's breath deepened. The traveler realized that the bag had been heavy, not only because of its contents, but because of the belief attached to it. And the monk still did not teach. The monk still did not explain. The monk simply sat, letting the traveler discover what the traveler was ready to discover. You are that traveler in a way, and you are also the fire, and you are also the night. You are the one who has been carrying, and you are also the one who can rest. You might imagine placing your own invisible bag down beside you now. Not forever, not dramatically, just for this moment. You do not need to see what's inside. You do not need to empty it. You can simply feel the straps leave your hands. If you cannot put it down, that is okay. You can loosen it a little. You can let it rest against your leg. You can let your grip soften by 1 degree. Even 1 degree is a kindness. The candles continue to burn quietly. Their light moves gently on the walls. Shadows shift. Nothing is wrong with shifting shadows. They are part of the scene, part of the living night. The monk's presence remains steady. It is the kind of steadiness that does not demand that you match it. It is the kind of steadiness that simply makes room for your nervous system to remember another way. You might begin to feel sleepy, or you might not. Both are fine. You might drift in and out. You might follow the images for a while, then lose the thread. Losing the thread is also allowed. The story is not meant to be held tightly. It is meant to be like a soft blanket that can cover you even if you forget it. You return to the garden again without time markers, without needing to know how. The pond is still there. The lotus leaf is still there. The moon is still there, slightly shifted, but not in a way that matters. Night does not measure itself with rulers. It just moves. You watch a small insect touch the surface of the pond and skate for a moment, leaving tiny ripples. The ripples spread and fade. The insect does not apologize for disturbing the water. It simply moves on. The pond does not hold resentment. It returns to stillness. You can disturb your own stillness and return again. You can have thoughts and return again. You can feel anxious and return again. You can be human and return again. Somewhere deeper in the temple grounds, there is a room where blankets are folded neatly. The blankets are simple, worn soft by use. They smell faintly like sun from long ago. You take one and wrap it around your shoulders. The warmth is immediate in a quiet way. The fabric does not judge your body, it simply warms it. You might feel the muscles in your back begin to soften, as if they have been waiting for permission. You might feel the space between your eyebrows smooth. You might feel your eyes become heavy. You might feel the mind still trying to do its job, still trying to think ahead, still trying to fix. You can let it. You can let it tire itself out. There is no need to force the mind to stop. The mind is like a child who has been running all day. If you chase it and scold it, it runs more. If you sit quietly and remain kind, it eventually comes and sits down beside you. It leans against you. It stops because it feels safe enough to stop. You make space for your mind to feel safe. The monk walks once more to the bell and touches it again softly. The sound moves through the night like a slow wave. It does not command you. It does not pull you. It simply passes through. The bell sound fades, and in the fading, there is a sweetness. The end of a sound is not a loss. It is a completion. The world is full of completions like this. Inhale completes. Exhale completes. Day completes. Night completes. None of these completions need to be feared. You have been fearing endings and fearing pauses, as if pauses mean you're failing. But pauses are part of life. Even the heart pauses between beats in its own tiny way. Even the ocean pauses between waves. Pause is not absence. Pause is space. Space is where rest can happen. You are allowed to be in the pause. The temple feels even quieter now. The candles are lower. The shadows are softer. The garden is darker. The night has deepened, not as a threat, but as a blanket being pulled gently up to the chin. You feel yourself sinking into whatever supports you, the weight of your hips, the weight of your shoulders, the weight of your head, the muscles in your face letting go of their effort to be a face that looks acceptable. You do not need to look acceptable. No one is watching. The night is not evaluating your expression. You might notice how the tongue rests more comfortably, how the throat is less tight, how the breath becomes slower on its own. You're not doing it. It is happening. The body is remembering the way it was meant to be when it is not being chased. In the garden, a leaf falls. It falls without drama. It does not cling to the branch. It does not shout its farewell. It simply releases. It meets the ground and becomes part of the ground's quiet collection of fallen things. The ground does not complain. It receives. You can receive yourself in this way. All the parts of you that feel like fallen leaves, all the parts of you that feel used up, all the parts of you that feel like they didn't live up to their own springtime. The ground receives all of it. The night receives all of it. The monk returns to sitting, and the temple returns to being a temple, and you return to being you, except you are not forcing you into a shape tonight. You are not squeezing yourself into an improved version. You are simply letting yourself be shaped by the quiet. A memory may rise, and with it, a small sting, a regret, a moment you replay, a place you believe you should have been different. The mind is tender like that. It touches old bruises. You do not have to fix the memory. You can let it be a passing image, like a lantern drifting on a river. It floats by. The river carries it. You do not need to chase it down the bank. Another thought may rise. What if I waste my life? The thought can be here. It does not have to be answered. The night does not require answers. The night allows questions to rest too. Sometimes questions become lighter simply because they are not being wrestled. You may feel the desire to understand everything, to solve yourself, to finally figure out what is wrong. You have been trying to solve yourself like a puzzle, but you are not a puzzle. You are a living stream. You change, you move, you soften, you tighten. You are not meant to be completed. The temple air holds you. The candlelight holds you. The monk's quiet companionship holds you. The night holds you. Your own breath holds you. You are allowed to be unfinished. You are allowed to be ordinary. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be still. In the garden, you notice something small, a stone with moss on one side. The moss does not cover the whole stone. It does not try to. It grows where it grows. The stone does not resent the bare part. The stone does not demand symmetry. Moss and bare stone live together. This is how you can live with your own unevenness. Parts of you that are soft, parts of you that are still hard, parts of you that are healing, parts of you that are still afraid. They can all be here. They can all be part of the same night. Your breathing becomes like a slow tide. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. It does not congratulate itself for coming in. It does not blame itself for going out. It simply moves. The ocean does not need to improve its waves. Your mind may drift again to your life, to your goals, to your responsibilities. You might see yourself in the morning, doing tasks, speaking, making decisions. The mind wants to prepare. It wants to keep you safe. You can let it prepare a little, and then you can let it rest. Tomorrow will arrive whether or not you rehearse it. The sun does not ask permission. The day does not require your rehearsal. Tonight is not for rehearsal. Tonight is for being held. You imagine a small corridor in the temple leading to a sleeping room. The corridor is lined with simple paintings, mountains in ink, a single bamboo stalk, a circle painted with one brush stroke. The paintings are not complicated. They do not demand interpretation. They offer a feeling rather than an explanation. You walk slowly down the corridor, your steps quiet. The floorboards do not creak. Even the wood seems to be resting. At the end, there is a low bed with a clean blanket. The room is dim, lit by a candle in the corner. The candle is covered slightly, so the flame is gentle. You lie down. The blanket covers you. Your body sinks into the bed as if the bed has been waiting for you all along. You feel the softness of the pillow, the weight of your head, the ease of not holding yourself up. Your arms settle. Your legs settle. Your spine settles. Even if some part of you remains tense, that part can be tense. There is room for it. It does not have to be kicked out. In the quiet, you can hear distant night sounds, maybe insects, maybe wind, maybe the faint creak of bamboo. Each sound arrives and leaves. You do not chase them. You do not label them. You let them pass through the mind like small boats passing in the dark. The monk is somewhere nearby, still awake perhaps, still sitting, still holding the atmosphere of care. Not care that fixes, care that allows, care that does not rush you. You have been rushing yourself. You have been pushing yourself. You have been speaking to yourself in a voice that is too sharp. Tonight, the voice can become soft, not by force, just by being surrounded by softness long enough that it remembers how. If you think of your own heart, you can imagine it as a small lamp. Sometimes the lamp flickers, sometimes it burns steady, sometimes it seems dim. But it is still a lamp. It does not need to prove its brightness. It does not need to light up the whole world. It only needs to be itself. And even if it goes out for a while, another flame can be offered, not because you failed, but because flames share. Light shares. Kindness shares. You feel the warmth under the blanket. You feel how the body begins to drift. The mind may still bring images, but they are softer now, like dreams beginning to form at the edge of waking. A path, a garden, a pond, a candle, a hand loosening its grip, a bag resting on the ground, a leaf falling, a ripple fading. Nothing is urgent in these images. Nothing is being graded. Nothing is being fixed. You're simply here. The breath moves. The breath moves again. The breath continues humble and faithful. The night continues wide and patient. The temple remains, holding quiet. The monk remains, a presence like a stone in a stream, letting water pass. And you, too, can let the water pass. You can let the day pass. You can let the pressure pass. You can let yourself pass into rest. You are allowed to be still, not as an achievement, but as a natural return, like a bird folding its wings, like a candle lowering into a softer flame, like a pond returning to calm after a ripple, like a hand opening in the dark, letting go of what it never needed to hold so tightly in the first place, like a hand opening in the dark, letting go of what it never needed to hold so tightly in the first place. And as you rest there, wrapped in that simple blanket, you may feel the smallest shift inside you, not a dramatic change, not a sudden revelation, just a quiet easing, like a knot loosening a little when it realizes it is no longer being pulled. The room stays dim. The candle keeps its small, steady breath of light. Shadows move gently across the wall, as if the wall itself is breathing. You do not have to watch anything closely. You do not have to pay attention with effort. You can let your awareness be soft, like your eyes half closed when you look at the moon through thin clouds, seeing it without trying to capture it. You might notice how stillness is not an empty thing. It is full of small, ordinary movements. The faint lift of your chest, the subtle settling of your ribs, the warmth traveling along your arms under the blanket, the tiny shifts your body makes as it finds a kinder position. Even the mind's movements are part of the night. A thought rises, then dissolves. Another rises, then dissolves. You do not need to push them away. You do not need to invite them in. You can let them arrive and leave, like visitors who understand they do not have to stay. Some of the thoughts may still carry the familiar weight of self-improvement. The mind might murmur very quietly, "You should be further along." It might whisper, "Other people have figured it out." It might show you an image of someone else's life that looks smoother, brighter, more complete. That is what minds do when they have been trained by pressure. They compare, they measure, they sharpen themselves into a tool and then turn that tool inward. But tonight, that tool can be placed down. In the temple, there is no scoreboard. There is no ranking. There is no best version. There is only this living moment, soft and passing. The candle does not ask whether the flame is good enough. It only burns. The blanket does not ask whether you deserve warmth. It only warms. The night does not ask whether you earned rest. It only holds you. You may feel how strange it is at first to be held without conditions. Sometimes, when you have lived too long under conditions, kindness feels unfamiliar. It can feel almost suspicious, as if the mind is waiting for the hidden demand. But there is no hidden demand here. The night is honest. The stillness is honest. The monk's quiet presence is honest. Your own body settling is honest. Somewhere outside this room, a small wind moves through bamboo. The bamboo bends and returns. The bamboo does not stiffen. It does not resist the wind as if resisting will prove strength. It bends because bending is part of living. It returns because returning is part of balance. It does not announce its flexibility. It simply moves with what comes. You, too, have been bending. You have bent for other people's needs. You have bent for expectations. You have bent for survival. You have bent for the fear of being left behind. You have bent for the hope of being loved. You have bent for the belief that you must be useful to be worthy. Your bending has kept you moving, but it has also made you tired. Tonight, you can bend into rest. You can let your spine relax a little more, as if your back is no longer holding up the world. You can let your shoulders sink, as if they have been carrying invisible baskets that can finally be set down. You can let your hands soften, fingers uncurled, no longer gripping air. Even your forehead can soften, as if it no longer needs to think so hard. The mind may still try to create a plan for tomorrow. The mind may present a list. It may scroll through conversations. It may rehearse what you should say, what you should do, what you should become. This is not the mind being cruel. This is the mind being loyal in a clumsy way. It thinks planning is love. It thinks fixing is safety. It thinks effort is the only way to prevent pain. You do not need to scold the mind for this. Scolding is another form of pushing. You can simply let the mind do what it does, while the rest of you stays wrapped in softness. And often, When the mind is no longer fought, it begins to quiet on its own, like a child humming to itself, until the humming becomes slower, softer, and finally stops. In the hallway outside your room, the monk walks once, just once, the robe whispering softly. You do not need to see the monk. You only sense that the temple is awake in a gentle way, as if a caring presence is keeping watch without making a sound about it. You are not being guarded like something fragile. You are being accompanied like something human. You might remember how, in your life, stillness has often been treated like laziness. You might have learned that rest is something to feel guilty about. You might have learned that if you stop, you fall behind. If you pause, you lose your value. If you become still, you become invisible. But in this room, stillness is not disappearance. It is presence. It is a way of being here without forcing the moment into a shape. It is a way of letting life touch you without immediately grabbing it back. There is an image that comes quietly, like a dream arriving early. You are standing beside a river at night. The river is dark and smooth, and you can hear it moving. A steady, low sound. The river does not rush, but it does not stop. It flows the way it flows. The surface carries reflections of moonlight in broken pieces, shimmering and drifting. You do not need to fix the reflections. You do not need to make them whole. The river never tries to hold the moon perfectly. It only holds what appears for a moment, and then lets it pass. You have been trying to hold life perfectly. You have been trying to hold yourself perfectly, but you are allowed to be like the river. You can receive what comes. You can let it move through. You can let it go without making it a tragedy. As you stand by the river, you see a small boat tied to a post. The boat is simple, wood worn smooth. It is not fancy. It is useful. It was made to carry someone gently across. It is resting now, rocking slightly with the water's movement. The rope is slack enough to allow the boat to move, but steady enough to keep it from drifting away. There is a kindness in that rope, not too tight, not too loose. You have been tying your life with ropes that are too tight. Tight rules, tight expectations, tight timelines, tight self-talk. The rope has been digging into you, and you have been calling it discipline, calling it strength, calling it necessary. But there is another kind of steadiness, a steadiness that does not cut, a steadiness that allows movement, a steadiness that holds without choking. You can feel that steadiness now in the way the blanket rests on you. It holds you, but it does not bind you. It warms you, but it does not demand anything in return. The river air feels cool on your skin. You breathe it in, you breathe it out. The breath is simple. It does not have to be deep. It does not have to be perfect. It only has to be allowed. In the distance, you can see the temple again, a low shape under the sky, lights faint, like fireflies resting. The temple does not call you back loudly. It does not cling. It simply remains. You can come and go in the imagination, and nothing is upset by it. Even the images are gentle with you. Back in the room, the candle flame shifts slightly and then steadies. The flame is not a straight line. It dances, it trembles, it leans, it returns. It is alive. And because it is alive, it changes moment by moment. You can change moment by moment, too. You do not have to be one fixed thing. You do not have to keep being the person who pushes. You do not have to keep being the person who carries everything alone. You can be the person who rests for one breath, and then, if needed, rests for another. The mind may remember old moments of shame, a time you failed, a time you were criticized, a time you were misunderstood. The mind may replay it as if replaying could change the ending. But replaying is like rubbing a bruise to see if it hurts less. It usually hurts more. Tonight, you can let the bruise be. You can let it heal in its own quiet way. Healing is not always bright. Sometimes it looks like sleep. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like not touching the sore spot for a while. In the temple garden, there is a stone path. The stones are uneven. Some are slightly higher, some lower. And yet, the path works. It does not require perfect stones to be a path. Feet can still walk it. Even in the dark, the body learns. Even with unevenness, there is direction. Your life has uneven stones. Your mind has uneven stones. Your days have uneven stones. You have been demanding that you become perfectly even before you are allowed to feel at peace. But peace is not only for perfectly even surfaces. Peace can be found between uneven stones. Peace can be found while you are still learning how to step. You may notice a soft heaviness spreading through your limbs now, the kind that comes when the nervous system begins to trust. Your hands might feel heavier. Your eyelids might feel heavier. Your legs might feel as if they are sinking into the mattress. This heaviness is not a problem. It is not a loss of control. It is the body remembering that it can be supported. In your imagination, you see a small bowl again, the bowl of water by candlelight. The water is still. A speck of dust falls onto the surface and floats. The water does not reject it. The water does not panic. It holds it gently, and the speck drifts to the side. Even the dust is allowed. Even your imperfections are allowed. Even your messy thoughts. Even your tired feelings. Even your uncertainty. The monk once said nothing to you, and still something changed. Not through words, through presence, through the quiet proof that you can be near someone without being corrected, that you can be near someone without being evaluated, that you can exist without being fixed. And perhaps you begin to sense that you can be near yourself in the same way. You can sit near your own heart without correcting it. You can sit near your own sadness without rushing it. You can sit near your own restlessness without trying to solve it. You can simply be near, like a calm companion sitting in the dark. This is a different kind of love, not the love that improves, but the love that allows. A small sound outside, maybe a gecko, maybe a branch settling. The sound is brief. It comes and goes. The mind might try to identify it, but you do not need to. You can let sounds be sounds. You can let the world move without you managing it. The world will keep moving. The night will keep breathing. The temple will keep standing, even if you become still, even if you stop trying, even if you rest deeply. Nothing will collapse because you rest. This is a truth your body is learning slowly, in the only language it fully trusts, felt experience. You may remember how, during the day, you sometimes hold your breath without noticing. You hold it while reading a message. You hold it while waiting for an answer. You hold it while trying to do something right. You hold it while fearing you will disappoint. The breath becomes small, as if becoming small could keep you safe. But now, the breath is allowed to be wide again, or small if it wants. Either way, it is allowed. The body is not on trial. The mind is not on trial. You are not on trial. In your imagination, the monk brings a small cup of tea and sets it beside you. The tea is warm, fragrant. You do not have to drink it. You only need to sense the gesture, a gesture that says, You matter without saying it in words. A gesture that says you can be cared for without making you prove anything. You may feel tears behind your eyes, or you may feel nothing. Both are fine. Feelings come and go like weather. Weather does not apologize for changing. Rain does not apologize for falling. Clouds do not apologize for covering the sun. Night does not apologize for being dark. The world is honest about its faces. You can be honest about yours. You have been trying to be sunny all the time, but you are allowed to be night. Night is not failure. Night is rest. Night is quiet work happening beneath the surface. Seeds do not grow in the glare of judgment. They grow in darkness, in moist earth, unseen. Your own healing may be like that, quiet, unseen, unmeasured. You do not need to dig up the seed to check if it's growing. You can let it be. As your mind drifts, you might see a field under moonlight. The field is empty of people. The grass moves slightly. A few fireflies blink. They do not blink in a hurry. They do not coordinate. Each one offers its own small light when it does. The field is not trying to be bright. It is simply alive in its own low-lit way. Your life can be like that field, not always bright, still alive, still worthy, still held. In the temple, the monk sits with palms resting on knees, shoulders relaxed. The monk's face is neutral, soft, not smiling in a performance, not frowning in a burden, just a face at rest. You realize how rarely you let your own face rest. You are often wearing effort. Even alone, you wear effort. You can take effort off your face now. Let your cheeks be heavy. Let your lips rest. Let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue soften. Even the tiny muscles around the eyes can release. If the mind returns to self-improvement again, you do not need to get annoyed. Annoyance is more effort. You can let the mind return and let it wander and let it tire. The mind is like a dog that runs back and forth at first, checking every corner, making sure everything is safe. If you stay calm, the dog eventually lies down. It puts its head on its paws. It sighs. It sleeps. Your mind can sigh. Your mind can sleep. It does not have to guard you all night. The candle burns lower. The room becomes even softer, as if the air is thickening into comfort. In that softness, you sense again the invisible bag you have been carrying. The bag labeled should. The bag labeled fix. The bag labeled prove. The bag labeled be more. Tonight, the straps can slip further from your hands. Tonight, the bag can rest fully on the ground. You are still you without the bag. You are still you without the struggle. You are still you without the constant becoming. You are still worthy without the weight. Your breath comes in like a gentle wave, meeting shore. Your breath goes out like the wave returning. The shore does not chase the wave. The wave does not cling to the shore. They meet, they separate, they meet again. This is how the world lives, touching and releasing, touching and releasing. You can touch this moment. You can release it. You can touch the next. You can release it. No gripping is required. The monk stands quietly and steps out of the room, leaving you alone in a way that does not feel like abandonment. It feels like trust, like the monk knows you can be with yourself now. And in the quiet left behind, you realize that stillness is not dependent on anyone else. It has been inside the space all along, like a gentle lake beneath ripples. You rest on the surface of it, even if ripples remain, even if thoughts stir, even if you wake and drift and wake again. The lake remains. Your body grows heavier as if sleep is slowly pulling you downward with soft hands. There is no falling, no drop, only sinking like a leaf settling onto water, like a stone settling into sand, like a candle flame settling into a smaller, steadier glow. And if you drift into sleep now, you do not need to hold on to these words. They can dissolve, they can blur, they can become part of the soft fabric of your dreaming, part of the quiet that carries you. And if you remain awake, that is fine too. You can keep being held. You can keep being allowed. You can keep being still, breath after breath, with nothing required, with nothing to fix, with nothing to prove. Just this gentle night, this quiet temple, this warm blanket, this simple permission that keeps returning again and again, like the tide, like the bell's fading echo, like moonlight resting on the pond. You are allowed to be still. 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 And even the words allowed can soften, because nothing is granting you permission from above. Nothing is deciding your worth. It is simply the nature of night to make room, simply the nature of the body to settle when it no longer feels chaste, simply the nature of breath to keep arriving and leaving without asking you to be better first. The candle's flame becomes smaller, not because it is failing, but because it is doing what flames do when the room is quiet and the air is gentle. The wick glows, the wax pools, the light leans against the wall like a sleepy animal, and the room holds it all without comment. You can imagine the sound of wax softening if you listen with a kind of listening that does not strain. The sound is almost nothing, and that almost nothing is enough. Your own life has been filled with sounds that felt like alarms, messages, expectations, deadlines, opinions, inner voices that speak as if they are trying to keep you from danger by never letting you relax. Sometimes the danger was real. Sometimes it was only imagined. Sometimes it was old, carried forward like a heavy key ring you forgot you were still holding. But here, in this room, the sounds are few, and even the few are kind. A distant rustle, a small creak of wood settling, a breath, a heartbeat, the soft friction of blanket against skin. You might notice how the heart keeps moving without your management. It does not ask your mind for instructions. It does not consult your worries. It keeps its own quiet vow to continue. That steady beat is not demanding anything from you. It is simply a companion, a drum in the background of your existence, patient and ordinary, like footsteps in a hallway you've walked down 1,000 times. Sometimes, when you have been living under pressure, your mind tries to take credit for everything that continues. It believes that if it stops thinking, everything stops. It believes that if it stops controlling, everything collapses. It believes that it is the one holding up the roof. But the roof has its own beams. The earth has its own strength. The body has its own wisdom. The night has its own way of carrying. You can feel that carrying now. You can feel how the bed holds you, how gravity holds you, how the air holds you, how the blanket holds warmth close to your skin. Nothing is asking you to lift yourself. Nothing is asking you to prove you deserve to be supported. Support is simply happening. The world is supporting you in 1,000 quiet ways you never had to earn. If you listen softly, you may sense the temple's larger silence outside your room, the corridor, the garden, the wooden steps, the lanterns, the stones, the pond. It all exists without being improved. It all exists without being evaluated. The moss does not need to do a performance for the stone. The stone does not need to apologize for being stone. The pond does not need to explain why it reflects the moon in pieces instead of a perfect circle. It reflects what it can, and it is beautiful anyway. You have been trying to reflect life perfectly. You have been trying to reflect other people's expectations perfectly. You have been trying to reflect an ideal version of yourself, as if your worth depends on how closely you resemble a picture in your mind. But the pond is not ashamed of its ripples. It doesn't say, "I ruined the moon." It doesn't say, "I should be calmer." It simply has ripples when there are ripples, and stillness when there is stillness, and both are part of its nature. You are like that pond. Some nights you are calm. Some nights you are restless. Some nights your mind is full of moving reflections. Some nights your chest feels tight with unnamed feeling. Some nights you are a little afraid for no clear reason. None of this needs to be treated as a moral failure. It is weather moving through a living being. You may remember how often you have used harshness as motivation. You may have told yourself, "If I'm not strict, I'll become nothing." You may have believed that kindness would make you lazy, that softness would make you fall behind, that compassion toward yourself would erase your ambition. But harshness is a brittle fuel. It burns hot and fast and leaves you empty. Softness is a slower warmth. It does not scorch. It does not demand. It stays. Tonight, you are letting yourself be warmed slowly. In the imagined temple, somewhere beyond your door, there is a small room where bowls and cloths are kept. The monk, without making it a ceremony, may be folding a cloth. The hands move slowly, calmly. The cloth is not important. The folding is not important. Nothing is important in the way your anxious mind thinks importance is. And yet, there is care in the folding. There is attention. Not attention that strains, but attention that rests inside the movement. You can feel that kind of attention in your own body now, even if you are not doing it. It is the attention of being held, the attention of being allowed, the attention of the night itself, wide and quiet, not pointing at you, not pressing on you, simply including you. Your mind might still try to make a rule out of this. It might say, "I should be still like this every night." It might say, "I should master calm." It might say, "I should become the kind of person who doesn't struggle." Notice how quickly the mind turns everything into a project. Even rest becomes a project. Even peace becomes a task. Even stillness becomes something to achieve. But stillness is not a trophy. Stillness is not a badge. Stillness is not a personality. Stillness is a moment you can step into when the door is open, and the door is open more often than you think. Even if you only step in for one breath, that breath is enough. Even if you only feel a small softening, that softening is enough. Even if your thoughts keep coming, you're still allowed. Even if you're not doing this right, you're still allowed. You might sense your eyelids heavier now, and you do not need to resist that heaviness. You do not need to hold your eyes open, as if staying awake proves something. Sleep is not a defeat. Sleep is not giving up. Sleep is a natural surrender, like a leaf letting go when the season changes, like a wave returning to the sea, like a candle's flame becoming smaller as the night deepens. And if you do not sleep yet, that is fine too. The night is not impatient with you. It does not tap its foot. It does not say, "Hurry." It stays. It stays the way a friend stays beside you when you cannot relax. It stays without making it awkward. It stays without making you explain. There is a gentle kindness in the thought that you do not have to explain yourself tonight. You do not have to explain why you're tired. You do not have to explain why your mind won't stop. You do not have to explain why you feel behind. You do not have to explain why you feel pressure. You can simply be here and let being here be enough. In the garden outside, the pond may have a faint layer of mist hovering above it. The mist is thin, almost invisible. It does not hide the water, it softens it. The moonlight diffuses through the mist, making everything gentler. The mist is not trying to control the pond. It is simply present, and the presence changes the feeling of the scene. In the same way, your own softness can change the feeling of your life without needing to control every detail. Softness does not fix everything. It does not solve every problem, but it changes the air around the problems. It makes them less sharp. It makes your own heart less bruised by them. Tonight, you're letting softness return like mist. You might notice the space in your chest becoming a little wider, or maybe not wider, but less clenched. The breath may move more smoothly through your ribs. The belly may rise and fall without being held in. The throat may feel less tight. These are small changes easy to miss if you are watching for big results. But small changes are how life heals. Small changes are how the nervous system learns. Small changes are how trust returns. Trust is not a sudden leap. It is a gradual settling. You're settling. In the temple's darkness, the monk might be lighting one more candle, not because the room needs more light, but because the act itself is a gentle gesture. The flame touches the wick catches. For a moment, the flame is a little wild, dancing as it finds its balance. Then it steadies. It becomes a small, steady presence. It does not need to be large. It does not need to be dramatic. It simply burns. You have been thinking that your life needs to be dramatic to be worthwhile. You have been thinking you need to change in big ways, achieve in big ways, fix in big ways. But there is a different kind of worth. The worth of a small, steady flame. The worth of a quiet breath. The worth of being alive in an ordinary body on an ordinary night. This worth is not earned. It is recognized. In your mind, you might return to the image of the traveler and the bag. The traveler sat by the fire, hands still marked by the straps. The bag rested on the ground, harmless now that it was not being carried. The traveler looked at it and realized something surprising. The bag was not the enemy. The belief that the traveler must carry it every moment was the enemy. The traveler could pick it up again when needed and set it down again when not. The traveler did not have to fuse with it. The traveler did not have to become it. You can do that too. You can pick up effort when effort is needed. You can set it down when it is not. You can stop turning effort into your identity. You can stop turning productivity into your worth. You can stop turning improvement into your only path to safety. Tonight, you are practicing setting it down, even if only for a few breaths. Setting it down is a kindness to your future self. Setting it down is a kindness to your body. Setting it down is a kindness to the part of you that has been working too hard to be lovable. You might feel a quiet sadness underneath all this striving, a sadness that says, "Why did I think I had to earn love?" A sadness that says, "Why did I think being myself was not enough?" You do not need to analyze this sadness. Analysis can be another way of gripping. You can simply let the sadness be here, like a soft rain that comes at night. Rain does not need to be understood to be received. It only needs to fall, and when it falls, the earth becomes softer. Let the sadness soften you, not break you, not drown you, just soften you. In the room, the blanket is warm. The warmth is real. It is not an idea. It is felt. And that is how healing often begins, not with ideas, but with felt safety. A warm blanket, a quiet room, a steady candle, a gentle presence, a breath that does not have to be managed. You may notice your hands again. Perhaps they are resting on your chest, or at your sides, or under the blanket. Notice how they are not working right now. Hands that are not working can feel strange if you are used to always doing, but hands are allowed to rest. They have carried enough, they have held enough, they have gripped enough. They can be open now, they can be empty now. Empty hands are not useless hands. Empty hands are peaceful hands. You might notice the corners of your mouth softening, even if you are not smiling. A neutral softness. A face that is not trying to be pleasant. A face that is not trying to be strong. A face that is simply resting. Resting face is not rude. Resting face is honest. The night does not need your performance. You can stop performing for the night. Outside, the moon continues its slow path. It does not check if anyone is watching. It does not hurry because someone is waiting. It does not feel guilty for being covered by clouds. It continues, and there is something comforting about that. The world continues with or without your striving. It continues with or without your perfection. It continues with or without you holding it tightly. The world can be trusted a little more than your anxious mind believes. You can trust the bed to hold you. You can trust the ground to stay under you. You can trust the breath to come again. You can trust that you do not have to solve your entire life tonight. Tonight is small. Tonight is simple. Tonight is one body and one breath and one quiet room. As you drift, you might imagine stepping out into the temple courtyard for a moment. The stones are cool, the air is cool, the sky is deep. In the center of the courtyard, there is a small basin with water. The basin is meant for washing hands, for rinsing dust, for returning to simplicity. You dip your fingers in. The water is cold. You feel the shock, gentle and clean. It wakes your skin without waking your mind. You lift your fingers out and droplets fall back into the basin. Each droplet makes a tiny sound. Plip, plip. The sound is delicate. The water accepts each droplet without keeping a record. You can let your day fall away like droplets. You can let each worry fall away, not by force, not by command, just by allowing gravity to do what it does. You return to your room, or perhaps you never left. The images flow the way dreams flow. No need to know where you are exactly. The important thing is the feeling. You are held. You are safe enough to soften. You are safe enough to stop trying for a while. The mind may still insist, but what about my future? The future can wait. The future is not in this room. The future is not under this blanket. The future will come in its own time, like morning light creeping into cracks. You do not have to pull the future toward you. You do not have to wrestle tomorrow into submission. Tomorrow will arrive, even if you rest. And you, resting now, are not being irresponsible. You are being human. You are being wise in the way the body understands wisdom. You are letting the system reset. You are letting the heart recover. You are letting the mind stop spinning its wheels in the air. There is a softness that comes when you realize you do not have to be at war with yourself. You have spent so much time fighting your own mind, fighting your own feelings, fighting your own tiredness, fighting your own imperfections. But you can stop fighting for a moment. You can lay down the sword that was never meant for your own chest. You can sit beside yourself the way the monk sits beside the candle, quietly, without judgment, with patience. You are not a problem to be fixed tonight. You are a being to be cared for, and care can be very simple. A breath, a blanket, a quiet room, a gentle thought, a loosening hand, a soft jaw, a heavier eyelid. If sleep comes now, it can come like a warm wave. It can wash over your thoughts. It can blur the edges of your worries. It can make everything less sharp. You do not need to hold on. You do not need to follow every sentence. You can drift. You can float. You can disappear into rest, and nothing will be lost. And if you wake again, if the mind returns, if you find yourself in the middle of the night with thoughts circling like moths, you can return to the simplest thing again. The feeling of being supported, the feeling of the bed, the feeling of the blanket, the feeling of the air at your nostrils, the feeling of your own weight. Weight is honest. Weight means you are held by the earth. You are held. You are held. You are held. The candle continues to burn, and the flame continues to shrink, and the night continues to deepen, and your body continues to sink, and the world continues to be quiet in its own way, and you continue to be allowed, not because you achieved it, not because you earned it, not because you fixed yourself, but because this moment does not ask you to be fixed. It only asks you to be here, softly, simply, gently, like moonlight on a pond, like mist over water, like a leaf settling, like a ripple fading, like a hand opening, like a breath coming and going, 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 until even the idea of following becomes unnecessary, until the words begin to feel like a distant hum, like a train passing far away in the night, heard but not tracked, present but not demanding attention. The room grows quieter still, not because sound has disappeared, but because nothing is asking to be interpreted. Silence is not the absence of life here. Silence is life resting. You may notice how the silence has texture like soft fabric. It presses gently against your ears, against your thoughts, until even thinking feels wrapped, cushioned, slowed. Your body continues its quiet negotiations with comfort. A shoulder shifts, a leg settles. A breath deepens and then becomes shallow again, without apology. You are not trying to reach a perfect rhythm. The body knows rhythms that the mind cannot calculate. It finds them the way water finds a low place. You might remember how often you've told yourself that you must keep moving or you will sink. But sinking is not always danger. Sometimes sinking is rest. Sometimes sinking is being held from below. Sometimes sinking is the body finally trusting that the ground will not give way. You are sinking now, safely. In the temple grounds, night insects pause and resume their small songs. They do not coordinate. They do not worry about harmony. Each one sings when it sings, stops when it stops. The night holds the unevenness, and somehow it becomes beautiful anyway. No one corrects the insects. No one tells them to be quieter or louder. They are simply part of the night's breathing. You are part of this breathing too. Even if your mind feels loud sometimes, even if your thoughts overlap, even if your inner voice forgets how to whisper, here, everything is included. There is a sense, barely noticeable, that you are no longer trying to arrive anywhere, that the idea of arrival has loosened its grip. You're not moving toward rest. You're already inside it, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Rest is not a destination. It is a condition that appears when effort softens. The monk once sat by a river for many nights, not watching the water closely, not studying it, just sitting. Over time, the monk noticed that the river did not need an audience to be a river. It flowed whether anyone was there or not. In that realization, something inside the monk relaxed. The monk no longer felt responsible for witnessing everything, understanding everything, holding everything. You do not need to witness everything tonight. You do not need to understand yourself completely. You do not need to keep watch over your thoughts like a guard who never sleeps. You can let the river of your mind flow without commentary. Thoughts may still pass. A memory, a worry, a half-formed image. You do not have to turn toward them. You do not have to turn away. You can let them drift through the wide space of awareness that is already here. Awareness is not effort. It is simply the room in which effort appears and fades. You might sense that awareness does not tense when thoughts appear. It does not brace itself. It does not contract. It remains wide, like the sky when birds cross it. Birds do not tear the sky. Thoughts do not damage awareness. Nothing is being damaged by your thinking. Nothing is being ruined by your tiredness. Nothing is being lost because you rest. The candle's flame flickers once more and then steadies again. Even flickering is allowed. Even unsteadiness is part of balance. Balance is not rigidity. Balance is the ability to sway without falling. You have been afraid of swaying. You have been afraid that if you soften, you will lose yourself. But what if softness is not loss? What if softness is return? The blanket rises and falls with your breathing, or perhaps you feel the breathing beneath the blanket, like a quiet tide moving under cloth. The repetition is soothing. There is no beginning you need to find. There is no end you need to anticipate. There is only this ongoing rhythm that asks nothing from you. Somewhere deep inside, a tired part of you hears this rhythm and recognizes it as safe. That part has been waiting for proof that it does not have to stay alert forever, waiting for a moment when it can stop scanning, stop bracing, stop rehearsing. You are giving it that moment now, not by force, not by instruction, by presence. If sleep has not yet come, it may come soon or it may come later. Either way, you are not failing. The night does not keep score. The night does not label success or failure. The night simply offers itself again and again with the same quiet generosity. You might imagine the temple bell again, not being struck, just hanging there, still. Even when it is not sounding, it is still a bell. Even when you are not doing, you are still you. Being does not depend on action. The idea of fixing yourself begins to feel distant now, like a task remembered from another life. It loses its urgency. It loses its sharp edges. You may even feel a gentle curiosity arise. What would it be like to live without constantly trying to improve myself? Not forever, just sometimes, just enough to breathe. You do not need to answer that curiosity. You can let it float. Curiosity does not need resolution. It can be a soft companion instead of a sharp tool. Your jaw loosens again. Your shoulders drop another small degree. Your hands feel warmer. Your feet feel heavier. These are signs the body recognizes, signals that say, it is safe enough now. Safety is not perfection. Safety is not certainty. Safety is the absence of immediate threat. Right now, there is no threat. There is only a room, a bed, a night, a breath. The monk, wherever he is now, does not check on you, not because you are forgotten, but because you do not need to be monitored. Trust is being extended to you. Trust that your body knows how to rest. Trust that your mind knows how to quiet when given space. Trust that nothing terrible will happen if you stop trying. That trust may feel unfamiliar. You can let it be unfamiliar. You do not need to fully accept it tonight. Even brushing against it is enough. The night continues to deepen, not dramatically, just steadily, like ink slowly spreading in water. Darkness here is not heavy. It is soft. It is cooling. It takes the sharpness out of things. Edges blur. Thoughts blur. Time blurs. You may no longer know exactly where one breath ends and another begins. You may no longer be tracking the words closely. That is good. That means the mind is beginning to let go of its grip. You do not need to follow. You can let yourself drift beneath the surface of language where meaning is felt rather than understood. If an image remains, it might be a simple one. A wide open space, empty but not lonely. A field at night, a calm sea, a quiet temple courtyard under stars. Choose nothing. Let whatever comes come. And if nothing comes, that is fine too. Nothing is also allowed. Rest is allowed. Stillness is allowed. You are allowed to be still, even now, even here, even without finishing anything, even without becoming anything more than you already are, as the night holds you, and the breath carries you, and the world continues quietly on its own, without needing your effort, without needing your fixing, without needing your vigilance, as you soften further and further into this simple, endless permission, into this simple, endless permission, where nothing is waiting for you to arrive, nothing is watching to see if you do it correctly, nothing is measuring how deeply you rest or how quickly you let go. The night has no stopwatch. The night has no checklist. The night has no expectations of you. It only stays. You may notice now that even the idea of continuing begins to feel less important. The words drift more slowly. The spaces between them stretch like long pauses between waves. In those pauses, there is room for your body to speak in its own quiet language. A subtle warmth in the chest, a heaviness behind the eyes, a softness in the belly that does not need to be held in anymore. For so long, you have held yourself in, held your feelings in, held your breath in, held your needs in, as if letting anything spill would be dangerous. But here, spilling is safe. If a sigh comes, it can come. If a tear forms, it can form. If nothing happens at all, that too is perfect. Nothing is broken by rest. Nothing is delayed by stillness. Nothing essential is lost when you stop pushing. Somewhere in the temple grounds, a cat curls itself tighter in sleep. Its body knows exactly how to arrange itself for warmth. It does not question the position. It does not adjust endlessly. It trusts the surface beneath it and sinks into it completely. The cat is not thinking about tomorrow. The cat is not replaying yesterday. The cat is not worried about its purpose. It is simply sleeping. And in that sleep, it is completely itself. You are allowed that kind of simplicity. You are allowed to stop being complex for a while. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself, even to yourself. The mind may try one last time to rise up, to check, to scan, to say, wait, don't forget this, don't forget that. You do not need to argue with it. You do not need to reassure it with promises. You can let it speak and then fade, like an echo losing strength as it travels down a long corridor. Echoes always fade. Effort fades. Urgency fades. Even the feeling of being behind fades. What remains is quieter, slower, harder to name. It feels like being held from all sides at once. It feels like floating without needing to swim. It feels like the moment just before sleep fully takes you, when the body is already gone but the mind hasn't quite noticed yet. You may feel your awareness spreading, no longer tightly focused behind the eyes, no longer cramped inside thoughts, but diffusing gently through the body, through the room, through the dark. This is not something you're doing. It is something that happens when effort releases its grip. Awareness does not need to be aimed. It does not need to be sharp. It can be wide and soft, like lantern light spilling onto the ground without choosing a single stone. Your breathing is slower now, or perhaps irregular, or perhaps barely noticed at all. The body is choosing what it needs. You do not need to supervise it. You have supervised enough. Tonight, supervision is over. Guard duty is over. Fixing duty is over. Proving duty is over. There is a deep kindness in that ending. The candle's flame is very low now. Soon, it will go out on its own, without drama, without resistance. The room will not become empty when it does. Darkness will simply take over, gentle and complete, like a blanket pulled higher. The flame does not mourn itself. It does not panic. It trusts the night to hold what comes next. You can trust the night too. You do not need to stay awake to make sure everything is okay. Everything that needs to continue will continue. Everything that needs rest will rest. Your body knows which one you are right now. If your thoughts blur into fragments, images without edges, sentences without endings, that is fine. That is the mind loosening its grip on waking rules. Meaning is no longer required. Understanding is no longer required. Following is no longer required. You can let go of the thread. You can let the story keep flowing without you. If sleep comes now, it will not interrupt anything important. Nothing essential is missed when you sleep. Nothing important depends on you staying alert. The greatest work tonight is rest. The greatest wisdom tonight is stillness. The greatest kindness tonight is allowing yourself to disappear into the dark for a while, not as a loss, but as a return to being carried instead of carrying, a return to breathing instead of managing breath, a return to simply existing without commentary. You are safe to rest. You are safe to soften. You are safe to stop trying. And as the last traces of effort dissolve, as the body sinks fully into the surface beneath it, as the mind drifts beyond words and images, there is only this quiet continuation, this endless night, this gentle holding that does not need your participation as sleep comes closer or already arrives, like a tide that does not announce itself, like darkness deepening, like silence settling, like you being allowed completely to be still completely, without needing to justify the stillness, without needing to make sense of it, without needing to turn it into progress or meaning, as the night keeps unfolding around you in its own quiet way, layer by layer, like soft fabric being laid gently over another piece of soft fabric, until even the idea of layers fades and there is only the feeling of being surrounded. The darkness does not press in. It opens, it widens. It becomes a kind of space where nothing sharp can survive. In this space, even the edges of your thoughts begin to blur. not because you force them to, not because you chase them away, but because they no longer have anything solid to cling to. They drift, and then they thin, and then they soften into something closer to sensation than language. Your body lies exactly where it is meant to be, not in the ideal position, not in a perfect alignment, but in a position that feels natural enough to stay, natural enough to stop adjusting, natural enough to let go of the small habits of tension that usually keep you half prepared, half alert, half braced for something that never quite arrives. You might notice how the muscles behind your knees begin to relax, how the weight of your legs settles more fully, how your hips sink a little deeper, as if the surface beneath you is slowly learning the shape of your body and deciding to keep it. Your spine no longer feels like a column that must hold itself upright. It becomes something more like a riverbank supported from below, shaped gently by time rather than effort. The chest rises, falls, rises again. There is no need to follow it, no need to count, no need to guide. The breath is older than thought. It knows the way without instruction. Even when you forget it completely, it continues, patient, loyal, quiet. Your mind, which has been so busy for so long, begins to feel less like a machine and more like a landscape at night. Not empty, just dark enough that nothing demands attention. Thoughts still exist somewhere, like distant hills, like trees beyond the edge of a clearing, but they are no longer standing in front of you asking to be dealt with. You do not owe them anything right now. You have spent many hours believing that if you don't attend to every thought, something important will be missed. But nothing essential is happening at this depth. What is happening now is deeper than thought. It is the body remembering how to rest. It is the nervous system remembering that the world is not about to collapse. It is awareness loosening its grip on the idea that it must supervise everything. Somewhere in the temple grounds, the last candle finally gives up its flame, not suddenly, not dramatically. The wick glows for a moment, a soft ember, and then even that fades. Darkness does not rush in, it simply remains. The room does not change its attitude when the light goes out. Nothing becomes unsafe, nothing becomes uncertain. The dark holds just as well as the light did, perhaps even better. You may feel a similar extinguishing happening inside you, not of life, not of awareness, but of strain. The constant inner brightness that was always switched on, always scanning, always checking, it dims. And in that dimming, there is relief. You are no longer illuminating every corner of yourself. You are no longer examining every feeling. You are no longer standing watch. The night has taken over that role. In the garden, unseen now, the pond is completely still. The moon's reflection is no longer broken by ripples. Or perhaps it is, faintly, and it doesn't matter. Whether the surface is smooth or disturbed makes no difference to the depth beneath. The water is water either way. You are still you, whether you are calm or restless, asleep or awake, clear or confused. Your worth does not fluctuate with your state. That idea, the idea that your value rises and falls with your performance, your insight, your productivity, begins to feel very far away now, like a belief from another life, another person, another time, when survival required constant vigilance. You do not need that vigilance here. Your shoulders drop another small degree, not because you told them to, but because there is nothing left to hold up. Even the invisible weight you've been carrying, expectations, timelines, comparisons, self-judgment, begins to feel unreal, like a dream object that dissolves when touched. If a thought appears, "I should remember this," or "this is important," or "don't lose this feeling," it floats by without sticking. There is no place for it to land. The mind is too open, too tired, too gently held to latch on. And slowly, very slowly, the sense of being a someone who is listening begins to soften too. There is still awareness, but it no longer feels centered behind the eyes. It spreads. It diffuses. It becomes less personal, more like atmosphere, more like the quiet presence of night itself. You are not watching the night. You're inside it. There is no boundary where you end and the darkness begins. The breath moves through you the way wind moves through tall grass, without ownership, without resistance. Sensations come and go like faint changes in temperature. Even the idea of a body begins to feel distant, not gone, just less defined. Nothing is being taken from you. Nothing is slipping away. This soft dissolving is not loss. It is rest deepening. You might feel as if you are sinking further, not downward, but inward, like falling asleep into a warm lake that supports you completely, where there is no effort required to float, where the water meets every curve without judgment, without demand. The last fragments of narrative loosen. Words no longer line up. Images no longer complete themselves. The mind no longer tries to finish sentences. Meaning becomes unnecessary. What remains is a kind of quiet continuity. Breath, warmth, weight, dark, still. And even if, somewhere faintly, a part of you notices that this is sleep approaching, that noticing does not pull you back. It drifts too. It fades, like everything else fades, when it is no longer needed. There is no edge to cross, no moment you have to catch. Sleep does not arrive like a door closing. It arrives like gravity, becoming stronger, like floating, turning into resting, like awareness folding in on itself gently, the way a wing folds, the way a leaf curls slightly at night, the way a flame lowers before disappearing. You do not need to go anywhere. You do not need to finish anything. You do not need to become anything. The night is complete without you doing a single thing. And you, exactly as you are, exactly as you lie, exactly as you breathe, are already included in that completeness, already held inside it, already safe enough to disappear into rest, deeper and deeper, softer and softer, until even the idea of stillness becomes unnecessary, because there is nothing left that needs to move at all, at all. And the sense of motion fades so completely that it is no longer possible to say whether you are drifting or resting, whether time is passing or simply widening, because the night has taken on a different quality now, one that does not measure itself in moments or minutes, but in softness, in depth, in how completely it allows you to disappear without erasing you. Your body has grown very quiet, not stiff, not frozen, but quiet in the way a lake becomes quiet when the wind finally stops touching its surface. Underneath, there is still movement, still life, still warmth, but nothing rises high enough to disturb the calm. Muscles that once held themselves tight out of habit have forgotten why they were doing that. They let go without ceremony. They let go because there is nothing left to defend against. Your breathing may now be barely noticeable, shallow or deep, slow or uneven. It no longer matters. The breath is no longer something you observe. It is simply part of the background, like the slow turning of the earth beneath everything. You're no longer keeping track. Keeping track has ended. The mind, too, has changed its shape. It is no longer a stream of thoughts. It is more like a wide, dim field where nothing stands out sharply enough to demand a name. If a thought appears, it is more like a shadow than a sentence. It passes without forming. It dissolves before it can attach to anything. This is not emptiness in a frightening sense. It is fullness without edges. It is the feeling of being held so completely that there is no need to locate yourself inside it. You may sense that even the idea of you has become lighter, not gone, not erased, just less solid, less central. Like a knot loosening until it is no longer a knot at all, just a length of thread resting naturally. There is no effort in this loosening. It happens because nothing is pulling anymore. For so long, something has always been pulling you toward the next task, pulling you toward improvement, pulling you toward comparison, pulling you toward explanation. That pulling has stopped here, and in its absence, there is an unfamiliar peace, not the peace of achievement, not the peace of resolution, but the peace of no longer being dragged forward by invisible ropes. Somewhere far beyond this room, far beyond the temple, far beyond even the idea of place, the world continues in its vast, quiet way. Oceans move, clouds form and dissolve, forests breathe. None of this requires your attention. None of this depends on your effort. The universe is very good at continuing without being supervised. You are allowed to rest inside that truth. The sense of time grows even thinner now. It stretches and softens until it no longer feels linear. There is no clear before or after. There is just this sustained gentleness, like being wrapped in a single, continuous moment that does not end. If a fragment of awareness surfaces, a tiny recognition that you are drifting, that sleep is near or already here, it does not disturb the calm. It sinks back immediately, like a bubble rising and popping without sound. Nothing follows it. You are no longer listening for the next word. You are no longer waiting for anything to happen. Waiting has ended. The night does not expect you to participate anymore. Your body is heavy in the most comforting way, not weighed down, but anchored. As if every part of you has found its natural place and decided to stay there. There is no restlessness left to resolve. Even the places that once felt restless have grown quiet, lulled by the sameness of warmth and darkness. The heart beats on, steady and unnoticed. The breath continues, quiet and unremarked. Awareness remains, but without focus, without direction, like a wide sky without stars, or perhaps with stars you are no longer counting. Nothing needs to be held together. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be finished. This is the depth where effort no longer reaches, where intention dissolves, where the last traces of striving finally slip away, not because you pushed them, but because they were no longer supported by anything. You have arrived at a place that was never a destination, a place that was always here, a place you touch every night, whether you remember it or not. And now, fully, completely, without resistance, you're letting yourself sink into it, deeper than thought, deeper than feeling, deeper than the need to be someone doing something. As sleep takes you, not like an ending, not like a shutting down, but like a return to something vast and quiet and endlessly patient, where you can rest without shape, without story, without effort, held in the dark the way everything living is held when it finally stops trying.